6 Sinister Cults Exposed. Discover the spine-chilling secrets of the terrifying and cursed. Rachel took deep breaths, the chill night air stinging her lungs as she jogged through the ghostly streets of Maplewood. Shadows shifted around her, loitering beneath streetlights that flickered ominously. She always felt safe here, but the calm was deceiving. The tension in her chest knotted tighter. 6 sinister cults lay hidden in the folds of suburbia, each lurking behind facades of normalcy, ready to snatch away the unassuming. As she rounded the corner near the park, her feet stopped on instinct. Her heart raced. A park bench, old and warped, had strange symbols carved into its surface. It looked like something from a nightmare, a spiral, intertwined lines, letters that twisted and turned into a mockery of the alphabet. It made her stomach churn. What kind of person would go to the trouble of defacing public property in such a way? She glanced around, judgment slipping into paranoia. Were they watching her? With every passing night, her usual jogs turned into a chilling game of avoidance. The grocery store aisles whispered, mocking her attempts at normalcy. She had spotted terse notes plastered across products, phrases like "join us and they will come for you." Was this toxic boredom manifesting, or was there truth buried in those malignant words? Her co-workers shrugged her off, dismissing her fears as a symptom of fatigue. Local authorities branded her a paranoid single mom, but those symbols haunted her as diligently as her empty coffee cups. Then there were the neighbors. Their arrival so unannounced. The Johnsons. Their artificial smiles and sterile kindness felt wrong. Emily adored the little boy who lived next door, oblivious to the prickly discomfort creeping through Rachel's core. Cult-like behavior seemed scripted in their lives, rehearsed kindness that masked deeper intentions. What family wanders into an empty home as if it were a playground? The shadows of the night whispered a dark truth, urging her to dig deeper. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Her gut twisted. Hours slipped into panic, and as another jog began, she noticed shadowy figures trailing behind her. She turned swiftly but saw nothing. The fear clawed at her. What if these were not mere joggers but components of the unseen? As she pressed deeper into the community, she stumbled upon the abandoned school. Memories flitted around her like dismembered spirits. The air thickened with dread. Goosebumps broke across her arms, the whispers of the past edging back to the surface. Behind her, footsteps echoed, growing louder. Rachel tried to calm her heartbeat. But the horror settled like a fog pressing down, wrapping tighter around her throat. She was not just a mother running to stay sane, she was standing at the mouth of something far darker. The cult leader, someone respected in the community, stepped from the shadows, and Rachel's breath caught. As she stared into his smile, the world tilted. Emily, she realized, was closer to the poison than she had ever dared believe. Panic shot through her as everything she thought she knew cracked apart. Could she save her daughter before they claimed her essence? Darkness hungrily reached out, and as Rachel looked into the man's eyes, she felt all hope evaporate. A new reality awaited, one where innocence was a sacrificial lamb. The question loomed, could she outsmart the insidious shadows threatening to consume her child, and would it all unravel before the dawn? Rachel stumbled back, struggling to catch her breath. The man's smile widened, teeth gleaming under the moonlight, a predator's grin. 1,000 thoughts collided in her mind, but one cry reverberated louder than the rest. Emily. The cult leader's eyes gleamed with a knowing glint. He was aware of her mounting dread. An icy finger of fear traced down her spine. "Don't be alarmed, Rachel," he said, his voice smooth as silk yet edged with menace. "We're just here to help you. To open your eyes to the truth." She forced herself to take a step back, eyes darting around for escape. What truth? The shadows seemed to warp and breathe, hungry as they surrounded her. "What do you want?" He chuckled softly, the sound echoing in the stillness of the night. "Your daughter has potential more than you realize. We can nurture her, in ways you cannot." Panic gripped her throat, her chest tightening. Trying to reason, Rachel replied, "I want to let you take her." "You're insane." But her voice quivered with a blend of fear and despair. "You misunderstand," he said, casually gesturing with his hand. Behind him, two figures emerged from the darkness, their voices a chilling harmony of whispers. "We don't take. We awaken." Rachel's eyes widened. Were those the Johnsons? They approached slowly, almost gliding, their smiles impossibly broad as if painted on. Her heart pounded like a war drum, the fight-or-flight instinct digging deeper. She was outnumbered and outmatched in this game of shadows. The leader stepped closer, his gaze intense. "You can join us, Rachel. Embrace the abyss, or watch as everything you love is devoured." Rachel's heart raced as her thoughts churned. Emily might be next. Could they corrupt her little girl, warp her mind with their lies? She needed to leave, to protect her. But every moment spent there felt like a clock ticking down towards something inevitable. As if sensing her resolve, the leader smirked. "The choice is yours. Join us, or the darkness will claim what is rightfully ours, including your daughter." He extended a claw-like finger toward her as if summoning something from the deeper shadows. Rachel's instincts screamed at her to run. She turned and sprinted down the worn path, the gravel biting into her feet. She didn't dare look back, but she could feel them trailing her, the air thick with a sickness that stung in her nostrils. Panic fueled her legs, every stride pulling her away from their grasp. But the woods surrounding Maplewood seemed to close in, as if the trees themselves wished to hide her from the world. "Mom!" A sweet voice called out from the darkness ahead. Rachel halted, skidding on the gravel with her heart in her throat. Emily stood there innocent and wide-eyed, illuminated by the faint glow of a street lamp. Rachel rushed to her, wrapping her arms around her daughter. "We need to go. They're not safe." She glanced over her shoulder, terror flooding her veins at the thought of their pursuers. But her daughter's voice was calm, almost eerie. "Mom, it's okay. They told me not to be scared." Emily's eyes shimmered with something faintly sinister, a flicker of knowledge that did not belong. "Emily, listen to me. They want us to be a family," she interrupted, a smile twisting on her lips, a smile much like the leader's, wide and unyielding. Rachel felt her heart drop, panic like ice seeping through her. "What did you do?" she gasped, taking an involuntary step back from her daughter. The shadows behind Emily deepened as if drawing closer, encroaching upon them. The truth hung heavy, suffocating. The enemy didn't just want Rachel, they were claiming Emily too. As the darkness pressed in, Rachel felt trapped between love and terror, her grip on reality slipping with every tick of the unseen clock. The man's voice echoed in her head, taunting her, plunging her deeper into despair as she tried to protect her child. What would she do next? Leave her daughter behind or plunge into the darkness alongside her? The choices festered like an open wound as the shadows closed in around them, each heartbeat resonating with dread. But then a thought pierced through the fear: if she could not escape them, perhaps the darkness could be fought. What was their strength? The night lay heavy with unspeakable mysteries, and Rachel could feel the air thickening with dread. The question pressed upon her heart like a stone: could she defy the darkness before it consumed them both? The shadows hissed behind her, tightening their grip. In that moment, everything folded: truth and lies, love and fear, all twisted together in a dance of horror. Would the light of dawn break through, or would the night swallow them whole? Rachel's mind raced, desperation clawing at her insides as she stood before Emily. The innocence in her daughter's eyes felt like a cruel joke now, and with each beat of her heart, she felt time slipping away, dragging both of them toward an unseen abyss. "Emily!" Rachel's voice rang out, a mix of fear and urgency. "You don't understand. We need to run. They're not who they say they are. But Emily's smile only widened, revealing an unsettling calmness that sent ice pooling in Rachel's stomach. They taught me. You can't see it yet, Mom. But it's beautiful. Tears pricked Rachel's eyes. The darkness was weaving its way into Emily, and she felt a sense of loss more profound than she had ever known. No. We're going home, right now. She tried pulling Emily closer, but the girl just stood there, rooted to the spot as if the shadows had wrapped their cold fingers around her. The leader took a step forward, eyes sparkling with a wicked delight. You can't fight it, Rachel. She's already open to the truth. Together, you could join us and become so much more, or stay in the light and fade away. Fade away. Rachel's pulse quickened. I'll never join you. The cultist chuckled darkly, glancing at his followers. You don't have to. Just look at your daughter. The choice will be made for you. A surge of horror washed over Rachel as she turned to Emily again. Her daughter's expression had shifted, the wide-eyed innocence was replaced with a knowing stare, a spark of something ancient, almost ethereal. Rachel's stomach knotted painfully as she felt the shadows curling around them, tightening like a noose. Wait! She cried, gripping Emily's shoulders with trembling hands. I want to let you take her. Emily, you have to fight this. She felt the warmth of her daughter's body but recognized a chill creeping into their embrace, the cold presence of the cult sharpening the air around them. Mom, Emily's voice was soft yet firm, with an unsettling air of authority. You're scared for nothing. They love me. Rachel's breath hitched, panic making her pulse thunder in her ears. This isn't love. You don't understand. Then let me show you, Emily replied, her smile now almost predatory. The shadows behind her writhed more violently, almost alive, eager and hungry. No. Rachel's voice cracked as she instinctively drew Emily closer, but the girl remained eerily still. The world around them shifted, shadows pulling the light from the street lamp, draping the forest in darkness. Stop. Please. Rachel screamed, desperation clawing at her throat. Suddenly, she saw a flash, a split-second image of another child behind Emily, eyes wide with fear. An echo rang in her subconscious, the haunting whispers of those who had vanished into the night. Time stretched, seconds felt like hours, and fear coiled tightly around her heart. If I don't get you out of here, we'll lose everything. They will take you, Emily. Then, with sudden clarity, Rachel made a choice. The shadows could not have her. They would not take Emily, not today. Come with me. She commanded, and pulling from the depths of her protective instincts, she yanked her daughter backward, a determination blazing in her eyes. No. Emily howled, and the shadows shrieked in twisted agony, retreating for just a moment as if repelled by the strength in Rachel's voice. But that moment was fleeting. The leader laughed, a low, throaty rumble. You think simply moving will save you? The darkness is already inside her, waiting as the shadows lunged and the night thickened. Rachel felt the fight leaving her. What if she was wrong? What if the darkness around them embraced Emily like it had the others? Her heart screamed for her daughter, but the increasing weight of despair bore down on her. She gripped Emily tighter, felt the heat of her small body, the pulsing warmth that flickered against the encroaching chill. Emily, listen, please. We'll find a way back. We'll escape. But as the shadows surged forward, ready to claim them both, Rachel realized she was running out of time. The fleeting hope that had ignited within her flickered as she faced the reality of their situation, knowing it could all unravel in a heartbeat. Would the past pull Emily into the depths, or could Rachel pull her daughter back into the light? As the shadowy figures loomed larger, Rachel felt time slipping once again. The finality of their fight against the dark was woven into the very air around them. Would they break free, or would the darkness twist Emily into something she feared to recognize? The cold fingers of danger pressed ever closer, and the dawn's light seemed far too distant. The shadows lunged forward as if given life, thick tendrils wrapping around Rachel and Emily. Rachel's instincts kicked in, and she squeezed her daughter's shoulders harder, drawing them closer together. "Hold on to me," she shouted, the urgency becoming a reverberating command. The chill in the air felt like nails, scratching at her skin, as whispers of torment crept into her ears. Emily's body stiffened, the warmth of her little frame juxtaposed against the coldness threatening to consume them. "Mom," she whimpered, her voice barely above a whisper but imbued with something deeper, something alien. "Just let go." "No!" Rachel screamed, terror surging hotter than the icy grasp of the shadows. "I won't lose you, not like this." In that moment, a flicker of something familiar crossed Emily's face. A flash of recognition, bittersweet and fleeting. Rachel clung tighter, clutching her daughter as if she was the only lifeline in a black sea. They were wading through darkness, but deep down, Rachel believed there was still a chance. The leader stepped closer, a predatory glint in his eye. "Look how tightly you hold on, Rachel. But you can't fight what she's meant to become. Let her embrace her power, let go of your fears." "Shut up!" Rachel barked, a sudden surge of rage illuminating her fading hope. "You don't know what she's meant for. You're just using her." The leader's laughter echoed through the air, cruel and mocking. Even his followers shifted, their gazes glinting like dull knives in the dark. "Do you think you can shield her forever?" he taunted. "She's part of this now, a thread in the tapestry of greatness." In that moment, something broke inside Rachel. She thought of all the sweet, little moments, the laughs, the warmth of Emily's embrace, the first days of school. Each memory flickered in her mind like candle flames, dancing against the chaos threatening to engulf them. "No! You will not take her from me." With an almost primal scream, Rachel yanked Emily into her arms and turned sharply, bolting into the forest. The world blurred around them, trees, shadows, and echoes of laughter mixed with sinister whispers. They tore through the underbrush, branches slapping against her arms and face, but Rachel barely felt the pain. Emily squirmed, her small body resisting, but Rachel held on with a ferocity fueled by desperation. "Mom, stop!" Emily cried, her voice entangled with frustration and something dark. "You don't understand." But Rachel could barely hear her over the frantic pounding of her heart. "We have to get away." She gasped, adrenaline surging like wildfire. Branches snapped underfoot, and the shadows gave chase, furious and relentless. Rachel's lungs burned, her legs screamed against the strain, but she wouldn't allow the darkness to win. Behind them, she could hear their footsteps, the haunting calls of other children merging into one deafening chorus. It felt like a ghostly choir warning her of what awaited. Suddenly, a piercing scream echoed from somewhere deeper in the woods, a chilling sound that froze Rachel in her tracks. It was a sound filled with anguish and despair, a sound that made her heart drop. "Mom!" Emily cried, panic rising in her voice. "They're coming!" Rachel's breath caught, confusion swirling with fear. This was bigger than she had imagined. This was a battle for their souls. She wasn't just fighting for Emily anymore, she was fighting against something ancient and relentless, and just as fear threatened to paralyze her, a surge of clarity ignited. Plunging deeper into the forest, she thought of the flashes, those images of lost children, the haunting faces etched in her mind. The sanctuary was just ahead, if only they could reach it, but the darkness was close now, its tendrils curling around trees, moving with a will of their own. Each breath felt like an eternity, the rhythm of their heavy footsteps swallowed by the looming dread. "Run!" Rachel urged, urging Emily forward. Yet even as they dashed forward, Rachel couldn't shake the feeling that the hunt had only just begun. Would they reach shelter in time, or would the shadows claim them both before dawn? The haunting cry echoed again, and it was accompanied by a sudden chill that sent ice through Rachel's veins. They were not alone. What had she brought them into? As the darkness swallowed deeper, one thing became clear: every escape led them closer to a nightmare. The forest shrieked with livid whispers as Rachel dragged Emily through the darkness. The ground shifted beneath their feet, roots snaking out like talons ready to grasp them and pull them down into the earth. A heavy fog settled in, blending the shadows until they felt like they were surrounded by a living thing, one that breathed with a sinister intent. "Mom, we have to stop," Emily gasped, her voice laced with a panic that twisted Rachel's gut. A part of her wanted to heed her daughter's plea, but another fierce, desperate instinct pushed her forward. "Just a bit further," Rachel replied, each word swallowed by the oppressive air. The shadows crawled closer, curling at their heels like hungry animals. The echoing screams continued, deep and raking at her mind, as if torn from the sorrow of countless lost souls. Emily's small hand squeezed Rachel's tighter, almost as if she was trying to pull away. "No. You don't understand." Her voice broke, and for a moment, it wasn't her daughter speaking. A shadow flickered in her eyes, a flash of something Rachel didn't recognize, something not entirely human. Rachel's heart tightened. "I know who you are. You're my daughter." Her voice cracked, desperation splintering her words. The dark laughter of the leader whispered in her mind, twisting her fear into doubt. Was she losing Emily to the darkness, and what did that dark power want with her child? It was more than a mere kidnapping, it was like a ritual, a sacrilege to rip Emily away from her life, her joy, her very essence. The trees closed in tighter, silhouetted figures darting in their periphery. "Do you hear that?" Rachel whispered, her own breath a faint memory. A low hum resonated through the woods, rhythmic and chanting, hauntingly beautiful yet deeply unsettling. "It's a spell. They're calling for her." "Mom. I can't," Emily whimpered, her legs faltering. Rachel could feel the girl's strength waning. But they had to keep moving. They were so close to the sanctuary, she could almost see it glimmering beyond the grasping shadows. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath them. A low growl rolled through the air, a sound of something waking from a long slumber. Fear rippled through Rachel, and she pushed onward, but Emily froze, eyes wide, revealing an inner battle. "Mom, please. It wants me." She struggled, yet the look on her face was not just one of fear, it was resignation. Rachel's heart shattered at the realization Emily was being lured, something was calling to her, seducing her with promises that twisted the very essence of childhood. In that horror-filled instant, Rachel felt the pull of the shadows, a clamoring desire to relinquish her child to the darkness. "No. I want to let you go." She tightened her grip, the warmth of Emily's hand grounding her, pushing back against the cold claws of despair flickering around them. "Stop!" Emily screamed. "You don't know what it'll do to you. I can't fight it, let me go." Terror erupted in Rachel's chest, richer and darker than the shadows. The chains of the past tightened around them, pulling hot sorrow into the air. "I refuse." In her heart, a small flicker of hope ignited. "We can fight this together." But in that moment, Emily's voice transformed, soft and tainted with an unnatural chill, "Then you'll suffer for me." With that, the shadows surged forward, pulsing with life and intent. They leapt at Rachel like waves crashing against the shore, engulfing her senses. She felt the darkness wrap around her legs, a frigid touch seeping into her bones. Rachel stumbled, the darkness puppeteering her grip looser, looser until she no longer felt the warmth of Emily. Searing cold consumed her as she turned, desperate to find her, to save her, as the shadows danced and swirled. "Help!" Rachel screamed, but her voice got lost in the cacophony rising around them. She could sense Emily's essence slipping away, the girl she loved dissolving into the inky blackness. As the eerie chant grew louder, a dreadful realization settled in, she wasn't just fighting for Emily's freedom, she was grappling with the very fight for her soul. Rachel's heart raced. In the depths of this darkness, a whisper called her name, and for a fleeting moment, she thought she saw a path, a single light, shimmering with promise and hope. Could she reach it? But as the shadows pulled tighter, reality began to blur. Would this sanctuary be their salvation or a gateway to something far worse? She had to choose quickly, would Rachel abandon everything she knew to save Emily, or would she risk falling deeper into despair alongside her daughter? In the thickening dark, an ultimatum loomed. One final choice awaited, and the weight of the decision was suffocating. The light flickered like a candle's last breath, but it beckoned Rachel. She was conscious of the shadows pressing in, clawing at her skin, yet that glow seemed to pulse with life. Heart hammering, she darted towards it, driven by a desperate love, willing the darkness to release her grip. "Emily!" she cried, but the echoes twisted her voice, making it sound alien. Her feet were heavy, the ground swallowing her with every step. As the light grew brighter, the shadows behind morphed into twisted forms, grotesque faces materializing from the mist, mouths open in silent screams. They were zealous, insatiable, clawing at their lost hopes. Rachel's breath hitched. She had seen something, was something lurking behind those empty black eyes. "Mom, please." The plea came again, but this time, it felt different. More distant. Like it was passing through a thick wall of fog. Panic coursed through Rachel as she sensed her daughter's presence fading. The memories of Emily's laughter, her innocent joy, raced through her mind, grounding her in the chaos. She lunged for the light, feeling an inexplicable tug, as if it were a life raft in a stormy sea. Just as she reached the threshold of the illumination, a dark figure cut through the haze, its features obscured but its malevolence palpable. "Stop!" it commanded, voice like gravel shaken in an empty cage. Rachel skidded to a halt, heart thrumming with terror. "Let her go!" she shouted, her voice cracking. The figure rippled, shadows dancing around it like flames. "Does she not desire to come? The child yearns for freedom, for the truth that lies beneath the skin of this world," it chanted, each word dripping like poison into her heart. "No. She is mine." Rachel's shout came out raw, filled with a frantic urgency. The figure laughed, rich and deep, resonating in the hollow spaces of the forest. "You do not choose the path, mother. You only cling to your delusions." A hand reached out, not touching her but pushing against an unseen barrier. The light flickered again, and Rachel felt tendrils from the shadows begin to slide back, an unnatural fascination with her despair, as the figure's truth resonated. She could sense it twisting in the pit of her stomach. Was there a pull deep inside Emily? "Mom!" The cry shot through her like a spear, and in that moment, Rachel glimpsed the truth, the fractured innocence Emily might be clinging to. Spines of ice raced down her back, doubt flooded her. What if she was holding Emily back? What if this fight was not just against the shadows but against her own instincts? A gnawing ache of helplessness echoed deep within. Suddenly, she felt the grip of the shadows closing in again, suffocating her. The images of a future without Emily overlaid her mind, the cult, the sacrifices, the power they craved. She wasn't just saving her daughter, she was breaking a chain, one that bound them both in darkness. "Emily!" she screamed again, and this time it was not just a plea, it was a command. "Come to me. Fight it." The light brightened, as if responding, pulling at the shadows that clung to Rachel's soul. She could see something shifting behind Emily's eyes, a flicker of defiance battling the tendrils that wrapped her. "Mom, I..." There was an unsteady breath, uncertainty waiting into the chant that surrounded them. The figure laughed again, louder this time, clawing against the rhythm of the chant. "You think you can sway her?" It thrust out its hand, and shadows shot toward Rachel like arrows. With a primal scream, Rachel launched herself into the light, letting it engulf her. In that blinding brilliance, she felt a crack beneath the surface, a breaking point. There was no turning back now. She had to confront not just the darkness, but the deep fear of losing Emily forever. The forest howled, an orchestra of despair surrounding her, embodying every horror she could ever imagine, but within the storm, a question peeked through the white noise. In this unyielding battle between light and shadow, could a mother's love be enough to shatter a darkness that promised eternity? In that fleeting moment of clarity, Rachel knew she had to make her choice, and time was running out. The light enveloped Rachel, a cocoon of warmth amid the swirling darkness. But the warmth felt deceptive, a thin veneer hiding the cold horrors lurking just outside. Her heart pounded in her chest, melding fear and determination into a wild surge. She was perilously close to the truth, and the shadows writhed in agitation, echoing her thoughts with a cacophony of whispers that slithered into her mind. "Leave her!" The shadows hissed, their voices weaving together, an insidious chorus that pulled at her sanity. "She belongs to us." The word "belong" sent a chill through Rachel, and she tightened her grip on her resolve. Was her love the very reason she was here? She had to fight, for both of them. She couldn't let the darkness claim Emily, no matter what twisted truths it held. "Emily!" Rachel pushed against the cacophony, her voice steady as she thrust her will towards the blinding light. "Fight! Remember your name, your laugh, the warmth of our home." The shadows shrieked in rage, an unsettling sound that reverberated through the thick air. The figure remained immobile, somehow delighted by the chaos around them. "It's futile," it taunted. "She is already on the path to becoming one of us. The fear, the sorrow, it's intoxicating." Rachel's stomach churned. Sorrow. This was a prison of pain, and she needed to shatter it. Images of Emily's smile lit up Rachel's mind, igniting a fierce fire in her heart. "You can't take her from me." She surged forward, propelled by the memories of their shared moments, fighting against the looming despair. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. The light pulsed intensely, swaying to her will, and the figure flinched, shadows recoiling, pushed back by the luminous force. "No!" It screamed, and for the first time, there was fear in its voice. In the distance, through the tumult, Rachel caught a glimpse of Emily. There, just beyond the threshold of light, her daughter writhed, tangled in dark tendrils. But the flicker of recognition in Emily's eyes resonated with Rachel's heart. "Fight, Emily. You are stronger than they think." The shadows writhed, deflating like balloons pricked by a needle. Emily's gaze shifted towards Rachel, uncertainty painted across her face. "Mom. I'm scared." Rachel's heart clenched painfully. Desperation shot through her as she reached out. "I know, darling. Just hold on. Remember who you are." The air turned electric. The figure writhed, lashing out, shadows thrusting towards Rachel, eager to reclaim their lost prize. She could feel the darkness pulling her in, urging her to succumb to despair. Each breath grew heavier, weightier, as the battle felt increasingly uneven. "Feel the light!" Rachel screamed, feeling its warmth wrap around her like an embrace. She pushed forward through the shadows, every ounce of her being focused on the bond she shared with Emily. "We're not just mother and daughter. We're a force of love. You can't take that from us." With one final surge, she stepped into the light fully, letting it consume her. The shadows shrieked in anguish, their grasp failing as the brightness shattered their hold. The figure's face twisted in fury, disdain turning to betrayal. "No. You will regret this decision, mother." "Never," Rachel asserted as the power engulfed her. Light exploded around her, surging not just through the darkness but against the dormant energy of the cursed cult that surrounded them, ripping it apart. Then, silence fell like a heavy curtain as the light enveloped everything. Rachel's heart raced with uncertainty. Had she succeeded? Was Emily free? But then she felt a lingering pressure deep in her mind, a whisper, soft but insidious. "You think this is over?" Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath her, and she saw shadows reforming at the edges of the light, more menacing than before. A new danger was awakening, one that threatened more than just them. Was this just the beginning? What else lay ahead, and how deep did the darkness go? The air vibrated with a low rumble, like a storm gathering strength. Rachel shielded her eyes against the brightness, trying to pierce the curtain of light swirling around her. Shadows screeched as they reformed, clawing their way back toward the center, grasping at the remnants of her fading resolve. What was it that lurked beyond that flickering glow? "Emily!" Rachel shouted again, her voice trembling. The light pulsed in response, but the shadows surged, threatening to shroud them once more. She could feel a dark presence coiling around her mind, whispering deceitful lies that slithered beneath her skin. "You should have let her go," it hissed, dripping malice. Rachel shook her head, trying to dispel the voices. She focused on Emily, who still hovered in the hazy fringe of illumination, her face a mix of fear and confusion. "You can do this." She strained against the encroaching dark, searching for the strength that mustered from their shared moments, their laughter cascading like sunlight just out of reach. The figure in its center flicked an arm in a sudden violent motion, shadows lashed outward like poisonous tendrils. With a frantic gasp, Rachel dove to the side, narrowly evading the dark whip as it sliced through the air, high above her and towards Emily. Time slowed, adrenaline pumping in Rachel's veins. She could see it coming, a tangible representation of all the darkness striving to snuff out her light, her love. "Mom!" Emily cried, her voice a piercing echo. Rachel's heart twisted painfully hearing that fractured note of despair. "Hold on, Emily. Remember our home. Let the light guide you." She clung to the memories, forcing them into existence, picturing the warmth of their kitchen flooded with sunlight, Emily dancing around the living room, a million little moments flooded with joy. With a shudder that shook the ground, Emily's head snapped toward the darkness. In her eyes, Rachel saw a flicker of defiance, chasing away fear like a fleeting shadow. "Mom. I'm trying." The syllables blurred together, strung out on desperation. "Believe, sweetheart. Together." Another pulse of light surged from Rachel, intertwining with her heart's fierce love that pulled Emily closer, inch by agonizing inch, as if they could bridge the gap created by the encroaching darkness, but the figure was not finished. Rage twisted its features more grotesque than before. "No. You think such trivial bonds can withstand me?" It roared, an earthquake of menace reverberating through the air. Rachel felt it, a suffocating pressure, an unseen weight that pressed in on her consciousness. "Fight it!" She screamed, aware that the figure was revealing its true form, an abhorrent reflection of fear and despair, hidden in the fabric of the shadows. The ground quaked violently, splitting and cracking, fissures forming in the earth like the gaping mouths of the damned. With each crack that surrounded them, a wailing sorrow echoed, a requiem for the lost souls trapped by the cult's unyielding clutches. Rachel felt herself being pulled, as though the very atmosphere drained hope from her lungs. "Listen to their cries." The entity hissed, "Their suffering is your daughter's salvation." Rachel's resolve surged once more, swelling like a tidal wave. "No. We are not victims. We are fighters. Your hold is broken." The light responded, flaring like a supernova, bursting through her fear and igniting her will. With a shout that drowned out everything, Rachel wrapped herself in the light, pushing against the dark, merging with Emily's essence. Together, they formed a beacon, a defiant flash against the looming shadows, but as Rachel felt the power of the light, ripping into the darkness, she sensed something else, a deeper evil lurking beneath the surface. It whispered to her once more, softer this time, but with chills running deep. "You think you can escape? You haven't seen the fullness of our curse." A shudder ran through her, a feeling of cold fingers crawling up her spine. Fear layered with dread. What else was out there? Just then, the ground collapsed beneath them, plunging them into an abyss where the shadows promised untold horrors. Was there any way back? What awaited them now in the dark unknown? The darkness swallowed them whole. Rachel felt the air thicken, each breath like a lead weight. The shrill echoes of despair surrounded them, swirling like a tempest. She grasped Emily's hand, feeling the girl's pulse racing against her palm, a frantic rhythm of fear. "Stay close." Rachel's voice strained against the growing weight of the void. As they floated through the abyss, shapes flickered at the edge of their vision, shadowy figures writhing in agony, contorting in the blackness. It was as if the lost souls of the forgotten trapped in the cult's grasp were reaching out, clawing for release. Rachel's heart pounded. Could they be free from this nightmare, or were they destined to join their wails? Suddenly, a flash of light erupted, and Rachel shielded her eyes. It illuminated their surroundings, revealing walls that seemed to pulse with a sickly glow. Flashes of a familiar landscape twisted with jagged edges emerged. Their distorted home lay before them, twisted and broken, as a remnant of blighted memories. The shadows slipped and danced along the walls, mocking their past. "No," Rachel whispered, tears brimming. "This can't be real." But each flicker heightened the horrific reality. This twisted portrayal of home bore witness to their captured joys, snarled into grotesque forms. Her heart sank, everything she loved felt violently broken. "Emily," she began, swallowing hard, fighting back the rising terror, "we can't let this fool us. It's just an illusion." "Mom!" Emily's desperate plea cut through the air, full of anguish. Rachel turned to see her daughter's eyes widening. "We have to get out of here. They'll come for us." The ground lurched, rumbling ominously. In that moment, the shadows coalesced, flowing like liquid black, eyes forming amidst the darkness, watching, waiting. A low growl emanated from the depths. "Join us," the voices echoed, blending into an unholy chorus. "You cannot fight what you are." Rachel planted her feet, determination bubbling within her, fueling her voice. "No. We're stronger than this. We've faced so much. Your cheap tricks won't work." She felt the light within her flicker, urging her to stand tall against the rising tide of fear. "Mom!" Emily cried again, clutching her arm. "Please, don't let them take you. I can feel them pulling on my heart." Rachel turned to her, heart lying bare. "I won't let that happen. We'll face this together." In an instant, with the stridency of their bond echoing loudly, she conjured every memory of love, joy, and warmth, gathering them like shields against the encroaching dark. "Leave us be!" she shouted, and a blinding burst of light erupted from their joined hands, searing through the shadows. In that moment, the figures screeched, writhing as the light seared their forms, remnants of stale sorrows screaming for release. But the ground shook violently once more, offering no mercy. Voices erupted in a chaos of anguish, overriding Rachel's resolve. "You cannot escape the truth, you belong to us." The earth split beneath them again. Rachel and Emily teetered on the edge, darkness beckoning with insidious whispers, scratching at the edges of their minds. "We'll consume you," it promised, breathy and serpentine, slithering into the cracks of sanity that threatened to split under pressure. "Mom!" Emily screamed as they dangled over the void, panic bleeding into her voice. "Hold on, Emily!" Rachel shouted. She summoned every ounce of light she had left, determined to fight back against this relentless evil that threatened to swallow them whole. But just as she felt the surge of power, pain ripped through her chest. The shadows clawed at her, dragging her down. "No!" she cried, reaching for Emily with every fiber of her being. "I won't let go." And then, the ground beneath them gave way entirely. The world fell into chaos, darkness closing in, the air filled with screams that echoed her own. What awaited them in the depths of the abyss? Would they find salvation or face an even greater horror? In that instant of plummet, one truth stood stark: the curse was just beginning. Rachel plunged into the abyss, heart racing and tears streaming as the darkness clamored for her sanity. The sensation was dizzying, akin to falling through a whirlwind, her thoughts spiraling in a vortex of despair and determination. She could still feel Emily's warmth, but it flickered like a candle in a storm. "Hold on, my love!" Rachel screamed, hoping her voice could cut through the suffocating void. "We'll find our way back." But the overwhelming shadows responded with a sickening chorus, echoing their intentions. "No more light for you, join us or be lost forever." The voices melded into a single, consuming sound, resonating like thunder within her skull. Rachel gritted her teeth, the dread rising like bile. Just as panic threatened to choke her, memories surged: Emily's laughter, the scent of her hair, the moments of pure joy. They wrapped around her like a lifeline that in that pitch-black chaos, she mustered her strength, concentrating on the warmth enveloping her, desperate to sustain it, cling to it, and use it as a shield against the suffocating darkness. "Emily!" Rachel shouted again, reaching out into the obscurity as they fell. "We need to focus on our love. It's our greatest strength." For a split second, the chaos stilled as if the shadows paused to listen. Rachel felt a subtle change ripple through the thick darkness. This was their moment. "Mom!" Emily's panicked voice sliced through the gloom. "I'm still here. I can feel you. Then we're not lost." Rachel responded, heart igniting with renewed hope. "Let us fight together. Remember who we are." The tendrils of shadow coiled around them like predators, but Rachel felt a spark ignite within her, fueled by their bond and belief. She focused hard, drawing light from the core of her being and calling it forth. It burst like a dam breaking, flooding the abyss with a blinding luminosity that dispelled the darkness. The shadows screamed, shrieking against the onslaught. "What is this? You defy us? You will regret this." But with that light came clarity. Rachel realized that this wasn't just a battle against outside forces, it was a reclamation of their souls, claiming the power of their connection deep within. "We will not be consumed." Suddenly, the ground beneath them stilled, solidifying into a platform of shimmering light. Rachel and Emily stood together, hand in hand, feeling the warmth of each other's presence pushing the shadows back. As they looked around, Rachel saw faces emerging from the darkness, lost souls, once trapped within those haunting shadows, their eyes wide with hope. For every ounce of strength Rachel summoned, the light blazed fiercely, illuminating despair that was ready to fade into oblivion. "Join your love," a whisper of a lost child echoed near them, urging others forward. "Help us fight." And within that moment of resonance, Rachel realized their fight spread far beyond her and Emily. They could ignite a revolution, not just against the cult, but the very nature of the darkness itself. They were not alone in this, and while the shadows loomed ever closer, they were powerful together. "Bring the light!" Rachel shouted, channeling every heartbeat that drummed in her chest, every memory of joy, every image of love they shared. The brightness expanded, and the lost souls around them responded, merging with Rachel's energy. The shadows recoiled, hissed, and surged backward as if burned by their collective light. A thunderous roar erupted from deep within the darkness, shaking it to its core. "You'll regret this. You'll never be free." But Rachel stood firm, holding tightly to Emily's hand. "We're already free. Now is the time to reclaim everything." With a final counterattack, the expanded light pulsed outward, shattering the remnants of shadows that clung desperately to their forms. Specters, children lost to despair, surged forward with a swell of courage. The air simmered with hope and destruction. "Emily, let us finish this." Rachel called over the cacophony, her heart racing with the adrenaline of liberation. "Together, Mom." Emily replied, the innocent warmth of her spirit igniting a fire within Rachel's heart. The light transpired to collapse all darkness, every inch of shadow consumed, chased away by the force of pure unconditional love and unwavering resilience. The ground beneath them brightened, revealing the familiar entrance of their home, a path to freedom. As Rachel and Emily stepped forward, side by side, the warmth fused into them, so vibrant and alive. A cascade of laughter erupted from the tangled emotions, echoing, vibrating through the air. They had chosen light, they had chosen life. The shadows dissipated, leaving only softness behind, and the whispers faded to silence, a soothing balm upon their souls. Finally, the forest brightened with dawn's first light, pushing back the shadows, revealing a world returned to the warmth of day. Rachel turned to Emily, tears glistening on her cheeks. "We did it. We fought and we won." Emily grinned, her eyes sparkling with untamed freedom. "We can always fight together, Mom. We're a team." Privacy settled, protected and unyielding, as they stepped back into their lives, no longer burdened by fear. Their hearts knew, regardless of the darkness lingering in the corners of the world, they were a fortress of light ready to face whatever lay ahead. Together, they breathed in the morning air, filled with the scent of possibility, walking hand in hand down the path leading back to their home and the radiance within. Now, dear friends, this is where our story ends. But your journey should not. You need to subscribe now because you don't want to miss the next exclusive stories that will captivate your soul. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and ensure more tales unfold in this magical realm. Flood the comments section with your burning reactions and theories about this thrilling conclusion. Your thoughts matter and they can ignite more conversations, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear this gripping tale. Your support makes all the difference. Join us in our next adventure.